Hi folks, Amitai here from Gizra. Amitaibo is the nickname, and we will learn today about the Pluggable Entity View Builder, or the View Builder in short, and the Drupal Starter. So Drupal Starter is basically how we scaffold every new project in Gizra. All the sites are kind of the same. They have the header, they have the footer, and they have those common elements. So the hero, header, and the call to action, and grids of people and quotes and accordion and quick links. And basically with the Drupal starter, you scaffold the project, and then you can obviously change your design and add elements or change your elements. So today I want to concentrate on how we're doing the theming with the pluggable entity view builder. It's not just a model, it's kind of an approach of how to do the theme. So the call to action, nothing out of the ordinary. We have the title, the description, and a button, a link. So my goals, or our goals in Gizra when we're creating a site or a theme for the site, is first to provide the client what we call rigid flexibility, meaning we don't want to allow the client, any kind of drag and drop, whatever they have in mind, because they will break out of the design and they will break their own site. So we provide the guardrails, and we call it the rigid flexibility. We want to provide easy maintenance and for our developers to easily jump between the different projects. So Drupal Starter is kind of the baseline standardization, and it makes every project very, very familiar. So let's say we're talking about the call to action. So let's say, again, I'm doing an estimation like that. All right, it will take 1 hour to create the paragraph type and let's say copy automatic tests, and about 2 hours to do the theming. So here we have the fields of the paragraph that we've created, and we have a very simple style guide where we place all the elements, the static version of the elements, meaning we're not rendering any node or paragraph, we're just calling those specific twigs. So let's talk about a twig for a second. Have a look at this twig. You don't really have to concentrate on really anything. But if I would ask you, try to imagine how that would look, it will be really, really hard. Or what is this twig doing? Okay, so by the name of the twig, or you can see you have here is a leadership and a name and a role and a location. Maybe you have some understanding, but still it's pretty hard to understand what's going on over here. So with our approach, we try to have a better reasoning with the twig files. First is to lower the cognitive load, meaning I'm not a computer, I'm not a browser, I don't want to try and somehow in my brain render everything, and make it very predictable. How do we do that? Have a look at this twig, theme text decoration -- italic. What is this doing? We're using Tailwind CSS. The only thing that it's doing, it's wrapping some element, whatever it is, with italic. What is this one doing? The decoration setting, center, it's placing it in the center. This one looks a bit more involved, the font weight. I can see all the different font weights that I'm going to get, normal, medium, bold, and then I'm converting that. And again, I'm wrapping whatever element it is with the appropriate font weight. Here's another one, responsive font size. So over here, I can see that I'm getting different sizes. Again, we're borrowing from the Tailwind lingo. And so in the 3XL, I can see that I'm taking care of the responsiveness. Again, it's doing just one thing, just wrapping the element with the size classes. What is this doing? The vertical spacing. It's taking care of vertical spacing. Again, flex call, and it's just making sure that it's aligned according to what I want. So one twig is doing one specific thing. And I'm able to use different functionalities from twigs. So over here we have the container narrow, so I'm able to import from some base background color, and I'm able to apply some ifs. But in the end, it's again a single purpose. I have some color class, I have some padding, and I'm wrapping it with a certain container. What's nice about the way that we're structuring the thing is whenever I have a twig file, I'll always have, I would call it a theme trait PHP counterpart that is getting, the name wrap container narrow, it's getting the element, maybe it's getting the background color, it is checking that the element is not empty, and it's calling the twig file, right? The render array. In a way, you can think about those methods that we have in the theme trait as kind of a type signature on top of twig. So here's my theme trait called CTA theme trait, and I have this method called build element CTA. This is what we call, a pure function, meaning this method would never call the database, would never do, reach out into some API. It is getting raw data, in this case, a string title, a render array of a body, and a link object, and it will return a render array. So let's have a look. In this build element CTA, inside my theme trait, just by looking at the type, just by looking at the function signature, I know exactly what data this function needs. And the way I do it is I'm starting to compose those different wrappers or different helper methods. So here is my title. Again, let's start reasoning with what the title would look like just by reading. So the title, I know that it will have a responsive font size, quite large. It will be positioned in the center, and it will have a bold weight. And then I can see there's the text and some helper function to create the buttons over here. And then I can see that I'm taking all the elements that I've built so far, this array of render arrays, and I'm applying a vertical spacing to them, and in the end I'm wrapping with a container narrow. Let's have another look. In the style guide, we can see that we have a quote element. Again, a very typical element. On the left, we can see we have the image with some photo credit on top. And then on the right, we see three different elements, this quote sign, a title, and some, I don't know, the author or some subtitle. How would we approach that? Well, there are really two types of twig files. The first one would be what we call the styling twigs, which we've seen up until now. This is, spacing, font size, and so on. A more rare one would be the layout twig. It's a regular twig. I just call it layout in the sense that it's defining the position of where elements could be positioned and rendered. So here is how the theme trait of the quote would look. Again, very similar. I know that in order to create the quote, I must pass a render array of the image, of the quote itself. Maybe it has a subtitles, maybe it has an image credit, and then I'm starting to build it. So I have the quotation sign and the quote. At this point, it should already feel familiar, even if you don't know exactly what each of those functions is doing. I'm applying italic, and then I'm sending it into a theme, into a twig file, which I call layout -- split image and content, because in the end, that layout is not quote specific. And that twig file would get the items, which is really just, again, an array of render arrays, the image, and the credit. How would the twig file look? Here's a simplified version. So we have the wrapping div, right, of everything. And then on the left, we would have, again, just wrapping divs over here for clarity. We will have the image and the credit. Obviously, we'll apply some position absolute. And then in the end, we're rendering the items, we're rendering the element or the items, right? So that twig doesn't know how many items would be on the right. It could be 3, it could be 10. It just knows that it's going to render something. So over here, I can see this is the final one. It has it's Tailwind CSS. It has more information inside, but in the end, It's the same. I'm rendering the image, I'm rendering the credit, and I'm rendering the items. Meaning that if I would have wanted, instead of having 3 elements over here, having 4 elements, then I wouldn't need to change the twig file. I would just had to add another, another item into the items array. All right, so we have this problem in Drupal for since I know Drupal many moons ago, is you as a Drupal developer or a themer, never mind how experienced you are, you're sitting and banging your head against the computer, asking yourself, where is this element coming from? Is it a block? Okay, is it a formatter? Was it pre-processed? And what happens is so many times the way to find out is you open the Chrome developer tools and you're inspecting the CSS class, and through the CSS class you backtrace where the element is coming. So I don't want to have that. I want, the Entity View Builder to take control of everything, right, through code. So, for example, when we're working in Gizra, sure, we're creating all the fields through the field UI, but we never ever reach out into the field display to set out the different formatters or layouts or anything like that, because we do everything through code. We're developers. This solution is meant for developers who are sharing the same mindset as us in terms of flexibility, the rigid flexibility, and that it's fine to have things via code. So no layout manager models, no field UI for ordering the field, no pre-processed magic, because we're basically controlling everything that's going to be rendered. So kind of the flow of how we're structuring the thing or what everything is doing, the Entity View Builder, the Pluggable Entity View Builder, is what's responsible for fetching the data, meaning loading the node or the paragraph, extracting the raw data, and passing it to the theme trait. And if it looks right on the style guide, it's for sure right on the Entity View Builder, meaning if the static version is right, then for sure also the dynamic version is correct. So let's have another look where this is a node of type news. Again, very typical. It has the title, it has the type of the node, the date, hero image, yada yada, social share, and the tags. So now we're looking at the Entity View Builder itself. Previously, we saw the theme trait. Over here, through naming convention, I'm saying build full being the view mode. So whenever it will find inside a node news, right, node of type news, with the view mode of full, it will hand me the opportunity of adding whatever I want. Meaning, here I'm getting the build array. If I just return the build, and this is a very Gizra way of doing things, just like that, here's how the node news would look. Nothing. And this is, for me, this is perfect, because I want to cherry pick, I want to control exactly what I'm going to have inside my page. So here it is with all the code. Again, at this point, it should look quite familiar in the sense that I'm extracting the data. So over here, I have the label of the node type. I'm getting the media, the featured media from the hero banner, and I'm passing it on to some theme trait. In this case, it's called build element node news. So this one, again, it's a theme trait. Just by looking at the type signature, you can think of it again as a type hinting or a type signature on top of twigs. I can see exactly what information I need to pass in order to be able to render my my news. So over here, I'm building the header. I'm wrapping container wide. Over here, I'm able to decide which information should go on the main and on the sidebar. So again, there's no specific layout manager. It's just methods who know how to send my information into the correct renderer array. So why not a layout builder or something that the client would be able to, drag and drop? Because our clients, and we're working with fairly big clients with millions of uniques per month, they don't need that full layout freedom. So when I'm hearing about the experience builder coming to Drupal, I'm excited as well, but I'm not sure that my client would need that, because for us, unlimited flexibility means also unlimited QA surface or unlimited amount of bugs and problems and breaking out of the design and then the brand guidelines. So we don't have the layout builder, but still we provide what we call limited flexibility, that rigid flexibility. And through the paragraphs, we allow you to mix and match exactly, but it's always with, known and tested layouts where you can never break out of the design. So the code flow, the way we're writing things is first we write the theme trait, right? This like the static version. Then we wire it. We call it wiring. We wire it into the style guide, making sure that everything is working fine. Again, reducing the cognitive load for the developers. They don't have to think where is the information coming from. They just know exactly what would need to be rendered. And then finally, we wire it into the Entity View Builder. In order to remember how to do the things, we've also added some PHP stan rules. So if you're adding into the Entity View Builder itself, dash theme, it will tell you that's not the best way to work. Move everything into the theme trait, or vice versa. If in the theme trait you call an entity, you get accept as an argument an entity interface, meaning it's what we call a complex object. It will tell you, hey, it's better working with integer, boolean, strings, array, and so on, rather than working with more complex object, which later on you would have to mock, let's say, inside of the style guide, and that's not the way that we like to work. So I encourage you to try Drupal Starter. This is what we call Gizra's codified knowledge base. Basically, every new project starts with that from that starter kit, and we constantly update it with new stuff, new learnings. In the end, as I said, many sites are sharing so many things that the Drupal Starter really saves us a lot of time whenever we start a new project. Thank you very much.